Hello, my beautiful friends. I'm excited to get to share with you something I've been cooking up for a little while. It's a little bit of a collaboration between me and me, which is to say there's a little bit of on Sheffield fine jewelry in the mix here, and then we added a little bing bang for good measure so that you guys have lots of options. You're welcome. Okay, come on in. I'm going to introduce you to this Talisman collection. This is what I'm talking about. So I forever have worn talisman necklaces. I love having necklaces that you can add things to and build over time, or even take away if you feel like wearing a little bit less one day. So I wanted to have a necklace that pulls together some elements that I think are really, really special and that could enable you all to make something that's personal and custom. And that kind of brings together like the feelings of your maybe immediate spiritual needs or your talismanic requirements. So this first little capsule has this tiny serpent, which I introduced you to as a pendant, which as you can see right here is an adorable little pendant. And this pendant is coming on a necklace by itself, and then you can kind of add to that depending on the talismanic requirements or prescription that you may be given by your spiritual leader. So here we go. This is a necklace that has the talisman. One of the options that you'll have will be to add a ruby, a black diamond, a gray diamond, or a white diamond. We'll talk a little bit more about all the physical properties of these later, but they're each going to bring a little bit of a different energy to your talisman necklace. But I love the idea that you could just add one of those little pops of color, or a little black if you want protection, or a little bit of both. But that's the beginnings of the talisman necklace. Then we have these amazing little vintage coral pieces that I've collected. So these were all like untreated, vintage, very early coral necklaces. So they're not taken from the ocean now, they already existed. And they're all completely unique, as corals are, just like little trees and flowers and other things in the world, you included. But basically, the way this little necklace is going to work is that you have your original charm or talisman, and then you can build upon it like this. So we're just gonna start a little example off to the side. So feeling like maybe your serpent needs a little coral to go with it, maybe you decide you want a little black diamond on top for good measure. This would be like a little 3-part talisman. Super cute, so magical. And then from there, you can add some of our others. So I had to make something that felt sacred and was tied to Native American culture in some way. So I decided that we would add a hand. I'm sure many of you have seen like pictographs. Where I grew up in New Mexico, there are a lot of archaic Indian ruins and you know, lots of cultural motifs that include hands, and oftentimes there were the hand was a way of symbolizing who was there and who was in the community. And so this one is based on this mica hand that was found in the Northeast coast, but the shape itself. But I really, really like this. So we decided that we would include it in 3 different renditions. So here we have the plain gold in the middle. We have a gold with a teeny tiny diamond in the center of the hand. And then we'll have silver that can be either plain, like this, or for those magic makers out there, the silver with the teeny tiny little diamonds in the fingertips, which I personally am a humongous fan of right now. So imagining that this talisman necklace is gonna go from having a little bitty serpent, a little bitty coral, a little bitty black diamond, and say this little hand with the white diamond for good measure. That's what your necklace is gonna look like to start with. And then enter the bing bang. So bing bang makes these really adorable little initial charms, and they come on silver chains, and they're just sort of single little items that you can buy from that brand, my other brand. but I wanted to find a way that we can include them, and I think the idea of like mixing metal and bringing in something unique and special and personalizable in that way would be really cool, because I know some of you are in love and you might want to wear the initial of your sweetheart, or maybe you want your initial and their initial, or maybe you have children and you want an initial for them. Sky's the limit here. You can even pick the one that's based on your nickname, which in my case is still an A, so we're cool. We have 2 different types of letters from Bing Bang. You can see this little bounty of the Gothic letter style. And here's our little K, for example. Here's a little B. Here's a little P. So you get the picture. They're all just lovely and adorable little Gothic letter charms. We'll have pictures of each of them up on the website so that you can see how each of them looks, but just to show you a little example of how they can be kind of representative of each letter in the alphabet. So I'm gonna add a little B to mine for Bing Bang because that's my first child, the company I started 20 years ago. So this is my talisman collection building by the moment with the little B charm. And then shaking it up a little bit. One might want to add one of the Bing Bang charms in the sans serif font. I think we call it, I forget what we call it. I think it might just be called the block letter font, but you get the idea. This is like your Helvetica of jewelry charms. And they're actually really cute next to the goth letters. So I'm just gonna reach in here and pick out an E for my one true love. Maybe grab an S for my mom, Susan, or Susie Q as we like to call her, and I'll grab an L for my Papa Lee. And then I'm just gonna kind of put these into place so that you get a sense of like how you could build these initials over time. I might put the E in here. Or maybe I'll put it after the B. That's kind of cute too. So that is a cute little example of what it would look like if I had started my talisman necklace today. Of course, there's many, many options because you could do a silver hand with just one initial or a silver hand with the coral. Oops, fly away. So of course you could do something more simple. For example, with just the little hand with the diamonds and a coral, which is a gorgeous emblem. Maybe throw a little gray diamond in there for good measure. You could always have a hand charm. Maybe you fancy a ruby. And maybe you wanted just one initial in there, but you get the idea. We're also going to offer them, this is our pretty little diamond cut chain. We'll offer them in a couple different lengths so that you can decide, like, you know, where you want to wear it. Usually there's kind of the 16 to 18 length, and then there's something a little longer like the 20-22. So I wanted you guys to have options. There'll be a little more information about that on the website, but also we'll be having events in the store where I will be present to tell you more and more and more about all these things in New York and in LA. So stay tuned for dates on that. But this is the sneak peek you've been waiting for.